Warm welcome to everybody who's visited us here at VINNOVA for this Future and Emerging Technologies Information Day. My name is Johan Lindberg and I work here at the Swedish Innovation Agency, and together with my colleague from the Research Council, Camilla Grunditz, we will try to host this day with you today. If you are on the participant list, you will receive a copy of the slides in your email after the event. If not, you would have to go into the calendar and check at the event page. You can download the slides from that page. Also, we have people with us watching on the internet, so when you're asking questions, please be patient enough to wait for the microphone, so then the people watching on distance can also hear the questions and we can answer them. But with that brief intro, I will hand over to Camilla, who will guide you further in what is waiting this afternoon.
Yes, I would also like to say welcome to all of you. My name is Camilla Grunditz, as Johan told, and today you will learn more about FET and about the possibilities to apply for funding. Before we start, we would like to ask you, how many of you have applied for FET before? A few, 1, 2, 3, yes, 4. Yeah. And did any of you got funding? No. So here's the tricks
to improve.
Yeah. Today you will find out what to do. We have 2 experts here today. We have Antonio Loredan from the European Commission. And we also have Zoran Konkoli from Chalmers University. And hopefully they will guide you towards success in FET. So this is the outline of today. First, you will have a short introduction to VR and VINNOVA and the national support for FET in Sweden. And then Antonio will tell you about the FET calls in the next work program. And then we'll have a short break. And then will be some candy over there. And after the break, we will show you some FET statistics for Sweden. And after that, our second guest, Zoran, will tell you about the mystery on how to succeed in FET. And after that, Johan will tell some tips and tricks for applications, and we will finish with questions and discussion, and also coffee and networking outside here. Okay. So first, I would like to say a few words about the Swedish Research Council. And here is the building where we are in the central of Stockholm. And we are a Swedish government agency working under the Ministry of Education and Research. We are 185 people at the office. And our Director General is Sven Stavström. And we are the largest public research funder provider in Sweden. Last year we distributed 6.4 billion Swedish crowns in grants. And this is our governmental instruction. The Swedish Research Council shall support basic research of the highest quality in all scientific fields. And besides funding research, we have also the overall responsibility for national research infrastructure, and we perform analysis and advise the government, and we coordinate and develop communication about research, and we promote international collaborative research, and that's where today's topic come in. And we have several experts and national contact points in VR, in Horizon 2020 within VR, and we have a special responsibility for the excellence science pillar. Okay.
So then I'll briefly introduce you to VINNOVA as well. So we're another governmental agency, but we're working under the Ministry of Enterprise. So we're complementing the Research Council and the Ministry of Education and Science. We have about 2.6 billion Swedish kronor in annual budget that we use for funding research and development And our role is then a bit different from that of the Research Council. So we are very much focused on how to make sure that research results come into use in society, turn them into product services, make sure that companies pick up the knowledge transfer or the technology transfer from university institutes into the society as such, into companies or into other forms of societal needs. We also have a national responsibility for providing information and advice regarding the European programs, and that is in that role we are here today talking about the Future and Emerging Technologies program. That is a European program within Horizon 2020. We are over 200 people working here, mainly here in Stockholm in the offices where you are right now, but we also have a small office in Brussels with 3 people, being closer than to the Commission. And our Director General is Charlotte Brogram, who was previously a research director at ABB, so she's very close to the industry and the industrial needs of Sweden. And just to get a short grasp of what are we doing when I say we have about 2.5 billion Swedish kronor, where are those? Where is this money spent? So on the map here, you can see the more red it is, the more VINNOVA money it is in the regions. So we are investing in research and development basically all over the country. But of course, if you're talking about technology transfer, knowledge transfer, making sure that research results come into use, you will of course get more activities around the large universities. You get this kind of band in the middle of Sweden between Stockholm, Gothenburg, you get Lund, Malmö, and you get Umeå, Luleå, and the north of Sweden being more active than the other regions. But we do things all over the country. It's also quite spread out where do we spend the money in ways of actors or organizations. So, okay, almost half our budget goes down into the Swedish universities. Then often in programs where we fund the universities and the industry participate in kind, and then we can make collaborative programs or collaborative projects where universities and companies cooperate together and create services or products. But we also quite a lot of our money goes directly into the private sector, into small and large companies doing development or research. But also the research institutes, and also an increasing part, it still comes from a very small, but the public sector and innovation in the public sector and how we make the public sector more effective is also sort of increasing on our agenda. But it'll be very, very short just to get sort of a grasp. If you don't know VINNOVA from before, what is the agency doing and how are we spending our money. But the main focus for today will be on the European money. And as you can see from this picture, so yes, the Research Council and VINNOVA are quite large when it comes to public research spending in Sweden. But the third largest is FP7, the former European program. And if we expect to continue along that line, Horizon 2020 hasn't been running so long, so it's hard to do statistics on how we're doing in the new program. But I just want to show you this to say that, well, there is a lot of experience, and we saw that a couple of you have already applied for FET projects, and we also have a successful project that will tell a bit about their experience. But there is a lot of experience in Sweden when it comes to participating in these European programs. So you should really draw from that and not be discouraged and think that it's complicated or hard to get European projects. And then you can see the other research funding agencies, the Energy Agency, Formas, Forte, and the Space Agency that are also part of the Swedish funding system. But a few words then, just before I let the word over to Mr. Loredan from the European Commission. So Horizon 2020, the new European program that will be running from 2014 to 2020, it is structured along 3 different priorities: the excellent science, the industrial leadership, and the societal challenges. And basically what differs these 3 is really what the political goal behind them are. So in the excellent science pillar, the political goal is to really build the best science base in Europe, to make sure we have the best higher education and the best climate for the researchers in Europe. The industrial leadership is then about the growth and the competitiveness of the European industry, to make sure that research results and research and development goes into the industry sector and that they grow and that they have their research facilities here in Europe. While the societal challenges then are focused on the grand challenges that society are facing today: the climate change, the energy needs, the transport needs, etc. So here it's all about how to make research results go into solving the big problems that society as such are are facing today. The FET program, the Future and Emerging Technologies, is part of this first one, so the excellent science pillar. And when working with this, we have already mentioned a few times that we are national contact point. What is that, and what are they doing? So towards this large European program, there are two roles that the European Commission expects the member states to fulfill. Those are the program committee and the national contact points. And they are basically on a timeline that you have on this picture. So when creating the call texts, the European Commission discuss in something called the program committee and write these work programs that define what is going to be called for in the research project. Once we have a decision where the Commission and the Member States have agreed how to best channel the research money, then the ball sort of rolls out over to the national contact points. So our role is to stimulate the R&D community in Sweden. So to be an advisory support function that will help anyone in Sweden interested in participating in those programs and writing project proposals and getting European funds. Once you file your proposal, you send it to Brussels, to the European Commission, and then the program committee, they are not part of evaluating or selecting the proposals. I will come back to how that is done, but they are the ones monitoring the evaluation process. They are the ones that can complain if you think that you have been unfair treated by the European Commission in the evaluation process. So they are not active in the decision on which projects to fund, but they are the ones that can complain if you believe that there are injustice that has been done in this process. The program committee for future and emerging technology is also the same one handling two other programs, the European Research Council and the Marie Curie. The program committee for this part is then manned with a delegate from the Ministry of Education and Research, whom is really responsible for the position of Sweden when it comes to these meetings. And then the Research Council and VINNOVA are the expert agencies aiding the ministry in discussing what Sweden should or shouldn't say to the European Commission when it comes to this program. The delegate is Ms. Karin Schmekel at the Ministry of Education, and the experts is Mr. Johan from the Research Council and Morten Jansson here at VINNOVA. And then, as you already heard, the national contact points are the ones that will help you in figuring out if it's worthwhile writing a proposal, and how to do that is me and Camilla that will aid you. And just a few words for those who are sort of more experienced. For many of the other programs of Horizon 2020, people are used to call on the program committee and say, I think you should tell the Commission that in energy research we have to focus on solar cells, or we have to... I would say the future and emerging technologies in that sense very much different, because we are not really... Most of it is a bottom-up program, as we soon will hear from Mr. Lordan. So you are not so keen on focusing in a position from Sweden saying we think quantum is more important than something else. So we like to stick to not really discussing scientific topics in the committee. But we have more broader things that we discuss, such as the evaluation process, how to maintain the quality in this process, and also more telling that, well, in the cases where we're trying to find topics, it has to be a transparent and scientifically based process, but it's still up to the Commission to run it. We don't think that it should be fed information through the program committee. It should rather be fed from you, the scientific community. And we can also discuss things like gender issues in the program and these kind of sort of broad political things that influence what the projects and what the science field should develop into, but we don't discuss really the scientific content. That should be more the scientific community having that discussion. Also, very briefly, when I say you can get support and advice from it, so we basically say, depending on who you are, where you come from, that there are four kinds of support. For almost all the universities, you will definitely, if you go back home, if you come from a university and go back home to your university, you will realize that you have a grants office or external relations or research relations office that are quite helpful when it comes to EU proposals. They will know a lot about what to do and not to do, and can help you if you are at the university. If you are an SME, then we have a national SME support office. It is run via VINNOVA and the institutes in Sweden together. So they have this functional mailbox EU SME at ri.se, where you can, if you are a small and medium-sized enterprise, contact them and say, I'm thinking about European programs, please help me find the right way to do this. And as we already mentioned, for future and emerging technologies, me and Camilla are national contact points, which means that we can sort of give advice for the entire system. And then a little bit depending, if you're not an SME, not a university, I would say, well, if you come from a large organization, large industry or research institutes, there are usually internal support in your organizations as well. So I would say there are some kind of support for everyone. It can look a little bit different depending on where you come from, who you are. As for the national contact points, so what do we do? Well, we do quite a lot of these kind of open events, information days, thematic workshops, etc., trying to inform about different parts of the program. But we can also do one-to-one meetings, so you can book a meeting with us, discuss your idea, and we can advise you if this is a good FET idea or a good something else idea. We also have different kind of courses in how to write proposals or how to understand the legal framework, etc. And we also have the responsibility towards the ministry to analyze and do statistics of the Swedish participation and be able to tell if Sweden is using its membership in the European Union well or not so well in these different programs. And also, of course, follow the development and the content of Horizon and see if it changes over time when we're working in the system. So as already mentioned, me and Camilla, we are here today. You can network with us at the coffee break. And here are all our other colleagues for transport, energy, etc., etc. So we are a whole bunch of people working with the different parts of the European program, and you can find them all on the vinnova.se/ncp link, and also there you can find our Horizon 2020 page to start read if you want to figure out other parts of Horizon. And you can also leave your email address at the last link and get our newsletter about European questions that we send on a regular basis. But this was very briefly on our role as NCPs and what VINNOVA and VR are doing in the system.